17 minutes past the hour. Let's get the very latest from the Fox Extreme Weather Center and our chief meteorologist, Rick Reichmuth, as the storm heads north. Hey, Rick.
Yeah, heading north, still at a really good clip around 26 miles an hour. I got to tell you, Shep, all kinds of pictures coming into me on Twitter that look like this. And, you know, we've been saying that we think there'll be a lot of power outages and a lot of trees down, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing. I've also heard of a report of a boat being sunk in the Long Island Sound, so there is certainly some stuff going on. And this is live shot, courtesy WFSB, that's out of Hartford, East Lyme, Connecticut. You can see they're still getting the rain. That is certainly going to be going on for a couple more hours, and very windy conditions as the center of this storm now is traversing that kind of far western side of Connecticut, heading up in towards Massachusetts and then across Vermont and New Hampshire. But still windy, still some rough conditions on the seas. And, you know, we have another cycle of high tides tonight, and there will still be kind of a southern or a southeasterly component to the winds, and that is going to cause for another rough night, potentially a little more flooding during the next high tide cycle. Nothing like what we saw from this last one, but still, if anything was kind of weakened, we could be seeing a little bit more impacts. Here's still very heavy rain falling across New England, upstate New York, wrapping back around still across parts of Pennsylvania, clearing for most of New Jersey, Long Island, New York City, southern parts of Connecticut. Even though it's still very windy, at least no more significant rainfall. Although the last band of rain moving across parts of Maryland and will continue to wind out of Pennsylvania. So we're about to be done with that, but still very significant flooding concerns. Flooding pictures that have been coming in have been very dramatic, and that is going to continue to be the case. In fact, Shep, some of the rivers across areas of New Jersey and upstate New York and parts of Pennsylvania are going to be cresting near record levels. And we see a lot of flooding across these rivers, especially in the springtime when you get the thaw from the winter snow. We're going to be dealing with those kinds of situations across some of these interior sections from so much rain.
Rick Reichmuth, thanks very much. Rick, I was just getting some pictures in. It's my understanding from what, WSB? That's who this is from? Jenna, help me. This is Marion, Massachusetts. Rick, maybe 10, 15 minutes, there are whitecaps here still, but 10, 15 minutes ago, this looked much worse. Is this being passed now? Is the storm getting past this, or what's the word? The storm is well to the west of what you're seeing right here. The storm is probably, I would say, 150 miles to the west of it, but so much energy from such a big storm. We've been saying there would be storm surge not just right along Long Island, but pushed up into Narragansett Bay and Buzzards Bay and around the Rhode Island area, and a lot of that energy also moving into the Boston Harbor and areas kind of up to Portland, Maine. So very rough seas. This is a day that you don't want to be out anywhere there, and we're still seeing problems across coastal areas to the south, like Jersey, even though it's mellowing out. But we're going to continue to deal with this for about another 12 hours across the oceans of the far northeast before the storm moves up to Canada, and then we'll kind of calm down for everyone. I said WSB. That's CBS for Atlanta. This is WBZ, which is Boston, and they're our network news service affiliate, and we thank them for that. I want to get to Broad Channel, New York. That's in the borough of Queens, where there's been some, I don't know, some pretty bad damage and a lot of flooding. Stacy Walsh is on the line with us, and she's been good enough to send in some pictures she took around her property. Wow, Stacy, you have some flooding, don't you?
Yeah, it was pretty bad for a while. The water seems to be receding a bit now.
When was the worst of it? Early morning? Tell me about it.
Yeah, I think about between 7 and 8 o'clock this morning was the worst. We had about 4.5 feet of water right around my house.
So it covered a lot of your property, right, but not into your home, is that right?
Thankfully, my house was a few cinder blocks higher than the water.
Wow, that is thankful. I'm looking down there at some sort of tank. It looks like, is that a propane tank?
Those were my propane tanks. Yeah, they snapped free at some point, and they floated out.
No, what about problems in your neighborhood? It looks to me like some houses weren't up on cinder blocks.
Well, we had two houses that actually crashed into the water on the east side of the channel. On 12th Road. I'm on 14th on the west side, but on the east side, 2 blocks down from me, there's a bunch of houses out on like pilings, and they just went into the water. One of them is completely gone. The other's about 3/4 gone. Now,
is Broad Channel, was that Zone A? Was that a mandatory evacuation zone?
Yes, it was.
But you didn't heed that mandatory evacuation, right?
Sometimes you just gotta stick it out.
Sometimes you do. And how do you feel about the decision now?
Oh, I'm glad I made it. Like I said, I had no water inside the house. As long as you could wade, waist deep through the water, you could still get around the neighborhood.
Right, and that wasn't a problem for you. We don't have alligators around here, thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully. I mean, I have a bunch of jellyfish all over my front steps and my stoop and some killies and a couple of crabs, but that's about it.
Some jellyfish and crab on your front stoop. I guess you've never seen anything quite like that before.
No, Prospect Boulevard is littered with jellyfish. I mean, anywhere you walk, there's just jellyfish everywhere.
Is that right? Stacy, you got to get some pictures of that. I need to see that.
I tried to take pictures because the jellyfish are clear. You really can't see them on the blacktop.
All right. I guess you can. The only time you know you're positive they're there is when they end up on your skin and you get that horrible itch.
Well, these are the little ones, so these don't really sting you.
Oh, well, they're kind of worthless anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, but they get between your toes and they squish and they're not too. It's pretty nasty.
That is nasty. So there are crabs all over the neighborhood too?
There were crabs. I had a couple of little small bluefish jumping in my backyard, right on my grass.
Who was there with you through all of this?
My husband.
And how was he? What was the mood around like there?
About 6 o'clock this morning, he started getting worried and thought maybe we should bail, but we stuck it out.
You know, I've talked to a lot of people who said as the worst of the storm came through this city, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, depending on where you are, you know, in the metropolitan area, you got to a point where it was like, okay, that's enough. If it gets any worse, I'm not comfortable. Was that kind of you guys?
Yeah, but there was really nothing we could do. They closed the bridge on both sides of us, so you couldn't get in or out. So once we were in, we were in.
And for the most part, you're like, all right, I did the right thing?
Yeah, I think I made the right decision.
A couple more feet of storm surge, which they were actually projecting. A couple of more feet of storm surge, and you'd have had a couple of feet in your house. I guess that wouldn't have been quite as pleasant.
No, not at all. But it definitely would. Had we gotten what they said, it would have definitely been in my house. I mean, it was only 6 or 8 inches from my stoop.
Well, you got lucky this time. I hope the luck continues when they come out to inspect things and make sure nothing's rotten up under there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Stacy Walsh, Broad Channel, New York, calling in from the borough of Queens. And we're looking at some pictures that are coming into Fox 5 in New York. Lindenhurst, Long Island, they've got some pictures from there now. And Rosanna Scotto is talking over these and giving us an idea of what's been happening around the tri-state area. Here, listen real quick.
The pool,
right?
Which I don't think it's supposed to be that close. Meanwhile, Karina from Rahway, New Jersey, sent this picture looking out of her front yard and driveway. They're also dealing with heavy, heavy floods.
All right, Radar from Yonkers.
Oof.
He sent this picture of a flooded parking lot. Again, up over the tires or real close to it.
Just a quick idea of how many of these pictures are coming in from around the area. New York City's fire department has made dozens of water rescues around the city due to Irene. Okay, you can kill their audio. Dozens of water rescues due to Irene. FDNY has rescued 61 adults and 3 babies from 21 different houses. Thank goodness for the FDNY. Watching in Fox 25, as they still have a big wind event going on along the coast in New England, and we'll continue to get to our correspondents throughout the hour. In just a moment, though, we're expecting a FEMA news conference. That's scheduled to begin 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, so just a few short minutes from here. So we don't miss that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. What is the word on when people can get out and about? What's the word on transportation? What's the word on closings tomorrow and power situations? We'll get all that from the good folks at FEMA. This is Fox News Channel continuing coverage of the aftermath of Irene.